90% of people live in the middle, and there's 10% here and 10% here. And they're the ones that move. And it's the same with the content.
There's not a whole lot of people who are actually making money as being an influencer. And it's really hard to go to Publix and buy groceries with likes and shares. But if you can get clients who trust you and want to work with you collaboratively over decades, now we can pay some groceries with that.
If this free third-party application went away, what else am I doing? What else do I have? What are my options? How do I get in front of people? How do I generate activity in business?
I'm not measuring success based upon like, shares, comments. That doesn't matter to me. I know the content is good, and I know that we are continually getting new people who are raising their hand and they want to meet with us. So that's how I measure success.
Throughout your day, you probably have 10,000 things pop in and out of your head that you're allowing to come and go. That if you captured just a simple, minute percentage of those, you'd have newsletter content for days. Nikki Nielsen, welcome to episode, God, what are we on? 28.
Unbelievable.
Can't wait. This is awesome. If you hear my son upstairs coughing, that's because he's home with the flu, doing all right, but plowing through.
You do what you have to do, right? It's going around. That is one of the benefits of homeschooling, is that for the most part, we get to miss some of that stuff.
Well, stay healthy, Nielsen's, and audience, welcome. Excited to have you guys. If Nick's microphone and image is not all you hoped it would be this week, that's okay. He's in the midst of a AV overhaul, right?
Yeah, super excited about it. Went out and spent way too much money, 4 to 6 months ago at Best Buy to supposedly buy the most powerful PC on the market, and it just continually crashed. But thanks to the Best Buy Total Plan, I've got a whole new setup coming. I got a full refund, and that Best Buy Total Plan it's an amazing deal. Especially for someone like myself who burns through computers.
Not that anyone out there necessarily cares, but Nick's been basically going through the same situation every 6 months where he gets all set up with a nice new PC, and then in 6 months it crashes, and then he goes through this whole plan all over again.
So you have talked me into using a Mac, so I'm really excited about that. I'm sure the learning curve will be really, really steep, but luckily, young Will on our team he's promised to take me under his wing and teach me the ropes.
It's not like it was in the old days, I promise. It's not a different language. They've made it so much more user-friendly. It's the shortcuts that you need to learn.
If I can get 1 year out of a computer at this point, I consider that a massive victory.
Oh, you won't buy another computer for a while. I can assure you of that. All right, we have a lot. I've got 2 sides of notes here that you've sent me. I've highlighted many things. I'm excited to get into this. If you don't mind, I'd like to drive a few things here because you've shared so many topics and I've highlighted so many of them that I think are great that I'd like to get some more on them. I'd like for you to expand on some of this stuff.
Let's go.
First of all, where did all this come from? I've got probably, 1,000 words of notes here. What inspired this on a late Monday afternoon?
Well, we haven't been talking as much recently. And not that there's been a rift or a fallout or anything like that. So I had all of this, I think, built up core energy last night of things that I've been wanting to text or talk to you about. And, it took I did this in about 90 seconds, just some things that were top of mind, thought could be some good ideas for us to discuss, some things that the audience might enjoy.
Good. Let's dive in. I'm excited. All right. One thing, my first note here is I'd like a Nick Nielsen KMP. This is a business marketing podcast. So to get things started, I would like a marketing update. I'd like to know, no bullshit. Don't, pretend I'm not here. I'm talking to somebody else, but I'd like to know how your marketing's going. You do a weekly newsletter. You've highlighted on here. You do a lot of social media short form content. I'd love to know how things are going on your end. We do this podcast. So walk me and the audience through real life, 2025, how are things going? What's cooking through your marketing? Yeah.
So, I think the newsletter continues to be the very best thing that we do because almost every single week it's going to bring 1 or 2 new conversations within 24 hours. It's clockwork. It always happens. And this past week was pretty much exactly the same thing. 2 new people came, within 24 hours of that newsletter. So, I mean, I think the newsletter is the key just to easily communicate. And I think the key to that is this is not a newsletter that we're buying and repurposing from somebody else. These are my own words, real stories about people that we're meeting with. It's very authentic, or it's, my insights and just kind of my perception of what's happening and what people need to focus on. And I think that resonates. And to me, the only way that you can really measure is your marketing working or not is it bringing in new conversations with ideal people that you want to work with. And it's working.
My first note on this, and this is the feedback I get from many folks, specifically prospects out there who approach, they hear this and they'll name you oftentimes, right? Nick says he's doing this and it's working. But what I hear from folks is, and guys, I apologize for repeating this, but this is kind of stuff that we just have to keep going over. I don't know how he continued. I don't know how you could put out a weekly newsletter. I don't even have that much stuff to talk about.
Yeah. I mean, are you meeting with people during the week? Like, what are you doing during the week? Right. I mean, I think the answers that we have to most of our marketing problems is in the conversations that we're having with ideal clients and prospects every single day. And it's just regurgitating that content. And for me, it's short form newsletter, because it's really easy for me to write, a newsletter that's going to be a 3 to 5 minute read.
So you're not overthinking it, I think that's the one thing I want to get across to people is that, having worked closely with Nick, I can tell you that it's not rocket science. It's going out every Saturday morning.
Realistically, most of these newsletters take me less than 5 minutes to write. This is not complicated stuff. This is not trying to write something that's going to be optimized for SEO or anything like that. I don't care about that. So I'm not trying to keyword stuff it, or I'm not trying to make it 2,000 or 3,000 words to try to, make it useful in a way that when it gets posted to the website that SEO will pick it up and then it might get picked up by somebody else. That's not my intent. I'm just trying to make it as user-friendly as possible. So for the people that, have entrusted me to share 3 to 5 minutes with them on a Saturday, they don't mind taking that time. They find value in it. And it's something that they want to sit down and read every Saturday morning, 8:30 if they're a client, 9 a.m. if they're not.
And I think this is one that I want to point out to folks as well, listening advisors, is he meets people where they are. And what I mean by that is he's identified a time to deliver this thing, Saturday morning, which has become like a casual kind of start your day, typical morning coffee, tea, just kind of waking up and getting the house in order. But he meets people where they are, right? There's not a lot of complexity, overthinking, financial jargon included here. He's not writing like it's a CNBC article, right? Or a Bloomberg, like you got to decipher the acronyms. It's very English. And I think that I'll speak for, on my behalf of just paying attention. I think that has probably worked quite a bit as well.
Yeah, it's not market commentary. And, I'm not smart enough to talk about all of those things from a beta and alpha and Sharpe ratio type of thing. I'm not talking about earnings revisions and things like that. So it's very, common English stuff that my parents would understand, which I think is helpful. I do enjoy some of the stories. We have one client who's just like a super connector, that him and his wife, they sit down and they have a cup of coffee every Saturday morning. Literally, they kind of go to their own corner. They read the newsletter separately.
Like, hey, that's me.
and then they discuss it, which I think is great. Like they have their cup of coffee, they take 5 minutes and they read the newsletter, then they discuss it.
Yeah.
And
they're like, you know that client we recommended, Laura? He's talking about her.
Yeah, like that has to be her. That has to be Laura. That has to be Steve, whatever the case. But it is funny how you do have certain people who are kind of those super connectors, and they read it and they see other people, or they see themselves in that story, and they want to share it with others.
All right, I want to dig in real quick. Couple things on the newsletter I want to talk about. What do you recommend to the folks who might not have all the fuel for the content, meaning they might not be having as many conversations as you are. They might not have a backpack of stories to lean on to share with folks. How do they get started? What do they do? What would you recommend for them?
Yeah, I think just having some insights is good. Like people, if you have like some authentic insights, I did one recently kind of on, tariffs and how you either act or react to certain news. you don't have to necessarily have clients asking you about the tariffs to write something of, how you think that applies to most people's financial plans, right? So you can take some of these stories that you might be reading about on CNBC, or the wholesalers might be emailing you about 20 times a day, and you might be able to, repackage that by not specifically talking about tariffs or inflation or the AI revolution, but use some of those concepts to say, hey, this is kind of where I think that we are, and this is how I think it applies or doesn't apply to your plan, and what you can actually do with that information.
I'll give everyone a little tip, so basically to help you do what Nick's saying is, if you're not generating or struggling to come up with ideas to talk about and to share, the number one thing that I think the most of you are missing is that throughout your day, typically on a Friday evening through Sunday night, so throughout the weekend, you probably have 10,000 things pop in and out of your head while you're dropping the kids off, while you're running this errand, while you're doing this, while you're sitting at this red light, while you're having downtime in the kitchen, while you're on the couch, that you're allowing to come and go. That if you capture just a simple, minute percentage of those, you'd have newsletter content for days. And to do that would be just simply having your notes app handy on your phone, just literally just capturing, quick thought. Because you're sitting at a red light, something pops into your head that would be, and you even consciously are like, oh, that might be a good newsletter idea. And the second the light turns green, you are dictating whether or not you should go, it's gone. And I would be an advocate, and I've seen it work, where if you can just capture some of these high level things, you'll have content for days.
Yeah, those moments are fleeting, right? So you got to take advantage of it, whether it's the Notes app or, I text myself, which is kind of a weird habit, but I do the same thing when I have a thought, think something that could be good. I text myself that idea before I forget it. Now I just hope that I can decipher that text, when I actually do have time to sit down.
Sure, maybe you can't. But
I've done that several times where I was like, man, I wonder what I mean by this.
Short form social media content, the podcast, any of that stuff. What's the KMP alpha been from some of that lately?
Yeah, it's been really substantial. I think, one specific example, which is kind of counterintuitive to a lot of, I would say, the business coach advice that you get, is like the concept of the family tree. Like, oh, you're working with the 65-year-old parents, you need to work down the family tree, right? You need to meet the kids. You need to meet the kids. You need to meet the kids. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've heard business coaches talk about working down the family tree. At KMP, we've been really, really successful at working up the family tree. As a financial planner, no matter who you're meeting with, just know that you can go up, down, and sideways on the family tree.
I love that. I'm so glad you shared that.
There's people that you can help in all directions, right? So working with one gentleman who referred his brother, right? So now we're going east-west on the family tree. And now, as time goes on, now they're introducing their parents to us. So now we're going up the family tree. Right. So much of financial advice is you got to go down the family tree. You got to go down the family tree. You don't have to. Right. You figure out where you're at, and you figure out who the people are, that you can help. And we're getting more and more introductions to from 40-year-olds who have 60-year-old parents who are preparing to retire. So, I think there's so much opportunity in not getting, so singularly focused on, I got to meet the kids of my children. And I've heard this a few times recently. Well, my clients are 40 and their kids are 20. I don't really want to meet their kids. Well, then don't focus on meeting their kids, figuring out how you meet their parents, right? And I just think that we make so many excuses and we aren't willing to think outside the box, because if we're really great at delivering that financial planning experience and people are feeling good about where they're at and they're seeing improvement, and they have confidence and clarity, and they're like, man, I wish I would have done this 10 years ago. They want to tell other people about it.
Where are you at in feed, Nick, with the platforms, LinkedIn specifically? A lot of folks I'm seeing getting tired of the platform, feeling like they're falling behind, and then at which point they kind of do less, give up, shy away from it because they feel like they're getting less reach. Where are you at there?
I don't really pay that much attention to it. I don't really spend a ton of time on the platforms for business purposes, but you have to show up in the content. You have to continue to get people into into the top of the funnel, so to speak. And that's through connection requests that I send out every Monday morning on LinkedIn. And the content that we've created together, I think is really good, and it's quick, it's bite-sized, and you just want to be one of the, 2 or 3 people that they think of when they have some sort of pain point that comes up. And I'm not measuring success based upon shares, comments. That doesn't matter to me. I know the content is good, and I know that we are continually getting new people who are raising their hand and they want to meet with us. So that's how I measure success. I mean, to me, the stuff that I'm doing from a personal interest stuff on social media, like on Instagram or Twitter, following, basketball stuff that I enjoy or fitness stuff. I mean, to me, those platforms are far superior than what LinkedIn has turned into. But I still think there is a lot of great business usage from LinkedIn, and there's so many people that can be helped on that platform.
Yeah, I think if people can try to not get lost in the, I'm still having the conversations of views, impressions, likes. And if people can just get past that, right? Just showing up, it's just showing up. So that brings me.
I had a conversation with a buddy actually this morning, and he was like, I just don't get it. He's like, everything is so lumpy. I'll have a good month on LinkedIn, then I'll have a bad month, then I'll have a good month. And I'll change the name. I was like, Kevin, what are you even talking about? Every day that I talk to you, you're telling me about all these great conversations that you're having. Well, yeah, I'm meeting with people and we're having good conversations, but LinkedIn is it's up and down. It's lumpy. I was like, well, it doesn't sound like it's lumpy, because to me, success is how many people you're meeting with that you can potentially help that are ideal clients for you. So what do you think is lumpy? And he's like, sometimes I'll get 20,000 impressions. Sometimes I'll get 200. I was like, why are you even looking at that? That's just head trash. It's just a waste of time. Get away from that. If you're going to track anything, just track how many people you meet with every week or a month. That's what matters. Forget about these metrics. As soon as you can get away from that, it's just like removing cancerous cells from the body. Now, if you're getting no eyes on your content and you're getting no people raising your hands, that's a different issue. But in large, we have to let go of the likes, comments, and reshares and focus on the quality of the message that we're putting out.
I have a client that is real time going through this. We're texting back and forth and we're trying to figure this out, who's gotten kicked off the platform, hopefully temporarily. And I'm confident it'll get fixed and sorted out. But it's one of those moments that you figure that you have to take a look in the mirror, or at least take a look and say, if this LinkedIn is free, third-party application website went away, what else am I doing? What else do I have? What are my options? How do I get in front of people? How do I generate activity in business? And I think some of these people, I'm not even speaking about this client now, Kevin, for your example, some of these people need to consider that. You're literally sitting here worried about your lumpy impressions when this thing could go away like that. And then what? Then what are you doing?
Yeah. And I would say, and that's, I think, the power of the newsletter, because we get most of our referrals from existing clients, so most of the introductions that we're getting are somebody who's connected to us already. And I think that makes sense because they're already raving fans, right? They've already seen the benefits of going through the process. So when they introduce somebody to us, it's a much warmer lead. It's a much warmer introduction. But the newsletter, to me, is the ultimate way that you can control your message and who it gets disseminated to, because those are your email addresses that you own. Nobody is going to take those away from you.
I also take this another direction, a step further here. You've also established a reputation, a brand. People are familiar with you and willing to consume you, right? And I feel the same way about what I've done with my community. If LinkedIn turned off tomorrow, would that have an impact on my business? Sure. Would I have the utmost confidence in the world that I could reach out to as many of the people that I can think of in the industry and get them to consume me in a different manner somewhere else, at least to give me a shot? Yes. And I believe that's because of the reputation I've built over the years. And I think you have the same thing. And I think many advisors, some of which may be listening to this, need to consider that as well. Like, have you built the reputation you need to have if one of these distribution platforms, God forbid, went away, for you to then get back in front of people and then be willing to accept you?
Right. And how many people have actually damaged their reputation by the games they play on whatever site it might,
Boy, that's a good one, man. Like, I'm really happy we're just going to touch on this for a second. Like, how many of these people, if we just yanked LinkedIn into the, a black hole into space, how many people who've been on there who consider themselves to have a good LinkedIn, marketing program in place would have nothing because they haven't, like, the people, even if they could get in front of the audience, like, the people would be like, I was never really into your stuff anyways.
Yeah, it just seems weird when somebody that you would, by all accounts, is really successful and you think has it all figured out is just typing in the word funnel.
No, here we go. Back to the funnel.
on LinkedIn. I mean, I think there's so much reputational damage. I mean, every time you comment on something, there's reputational risk. And so you do have to be super careful.
Good term there. I really like that.
Professional business platform like LinkedIn, because you are being judged either consciously or subconsciously every time you put something out into the world.
And the reputational risk is great though, like, because to the thing we've talked about, I had it on my on a conversation I had with a client this morning. Like, it's okay, turn people off. Good, they weren't going to hire you anyways. So, like, and I don't mean like turn them off like egregiously, but like, if they don't jive with your personality or your style or the way you do things, that's okay. Like, that's good. It just weeds out and saves you time in the future.
Yeah, and you want to work with people who are believers in what you do, who are raving fans. You want them to walk away once they meet with you thinking, oh my goodness, I can't imagine a life not working with Nick, or I couldn't imagine going through this and not working with Corey.
I hope he has enough capacity to take us on.
Yeah, like I met with someone last week who was a referral, and they had some questions and went through my process and, answered their questions. And I never really felt, a deep connection with them. And I was telling somebody else about it. I was like, I don't know that they will be clients. And they're like, oh, that really stinks. That's a bummer. They should go with you. And I was like, yeah, but I only want people to get on board if they really, really want to be on board. Like, I don't want to like sell someone into being a client. Like, I want them to go through the process and be so overwhelmed and optimistic that they can't choose anybody else. Right. And I'm not going to be a great fit for everybody, personality or, personal beliefs or whatever. And that's great. I'd much rather they opt out in the beginning, because you only do have so much time and capacity to pour into people.
And those of you listening too, though, that comes with, like, we want to give people a little grace here. I can relate heavy to what Nick's saying. And that comes with a lot of maturity and the fact that he's built a business, right? Like, I remember the early days of 2019 after when I launched this marketing business of mine coming out of corporate. I mean, shit, I would have taken anything, like, just to keep the lights on and food on the table. And I would have adapted my behaviors at the time for the dollar. Now, 6+ years into this, and I don't mean to sound this way, but I have offline conversations with myself after prospects reach out, and I'm like, it's not worth it. It just isn't worth it. I can sense the headaches. I see where they are ahead. I see challenges in our conversations. I see that our personalities might not jive right. And the extra, while it may be great, it doesn't change my life really, and it's not worth the headache.
Yeah, I mean, that it happens, right? And you have to be selective on who you let on the boat with you. Who you spend your time around with really matters. And people are either bringing energy into your business or their energy drains. And you have to do everything in your possible to shelter yourself from those people who are energy drains.
Agreed.
Probably a year ago or so, met with someone, and like, to me, they had all of the worst possible traits that I would want a client to have. They were market timers and very politically motivated and all of these types of things. And at the end, I just said, hey, I really appreciate your time. It was great to hear your story, but, it's just not going to be a good fit. And I wish you the best. And they were like, well, can you at least refer me to someone? And I said, honestly, there's nobody in my circle who I would feel comfortable to even refer you to, which is the truth, because I'm not going to, put some sort of toxic person onto anybody else. I don't personally know anybody who is doing financial planning from a market timing perspective, or who bases all their investment allocation decisions on, political ideology. Like,
it's fun how similar our worlds are.
For that. Good luck. I wish you the best. You're nice people.
Yeah. It's just wild how similar it is. Like the red flags and alarms go off in my head when I, in our conversations of like, this all sounds great. When can I expect it to work? And I'm like, then I start to look a little different at it. And then you ask about, how have you experienced marketing in the past? What have you done? And then they share with you all the funnels and things that they've been through. And you can start to sense like, all right, this, similar to you, the market timers, right? This might not feel like something that, I'm looking for a relationship in which we can grow together and I can get to know you and we can, put some real wins on the board, but have patience and do it the right way versus sequence people out of their, long-term savings. I just laugh. It just is wrong.
In the marketing aspect too, right? Like all of the great marketing in the world is really not going to pay off unless you can deliver really good financial planning advice and can execute on all of the things that you should hold people accountable to doing, right? There's two sides of it, right? Like, yes, you have to get people to raise their hand and want to meet with you, but then you actually have to be able to communicate what you do to them and how you can help solve their problems efficiently. Then you actually have to do it. You have to communicate, you have to do it, and then the marketing has to, continue to get those people into your funnel. So most people can't execute on all three of those without some level of help. And if you're seeing good people coming into your ecosystem, but they're not becoming clients, or you're having churn on the back end, then that's a different element of the business that you have to tackle. Like, no matter how good of a job that Corey does on creating amazing marketing content, if you can't hold up your end of the deal on communicating what you do and who you do it for, and then actually deliver on the plan, you got a hole in the boat. And I don't want to take any long trips with a hole in the boat.
No, we don't want to do that. Let's end this one with a quick quote that you shared with me. A gentleman named Chris Voss. I'm not familiar with him, but I love the quote, and I'd love to just get you to react to what you shared with me. Quote, "The behaviors that get clicks and likes and shares on the internet is not the behavior that makes you money and gets you into relationships that you want to be in. Engagement is not the same as understanding or connection. Those who fail to realize this will not thrive in their relationships," end quote.
I mean, I thought it was so poetic. So Chris Voss, FBI negotiator, super, super sharp, thoughtful person. And when I saw that quote, I think it was on Instagram, I was like, man, that really hits home to me, because there are things that I would do different if I were to want to be a finfluencer. But that's not my desire. I don't have a face to be a finfluencer. But what I do want to do is I want to help as many families as possible in the time that I have to become financially independent, to check off their goals, dreams, and aspirations in a timeline that's appropriate for them. So, we've talked about it before. It's just different behaviors. And what is the end goal? If you want to be a finfluencer, that's fine. It may or may not pay the bills. There's not a whole lot of people who are actually making money as being a finfluencer. And it's really hard to go to Publix and buy groceries with likes and shares. But if you can get clients who trust you and want to work with you collaboratively over decades, now we can pay some groceries with that. That's real money.
That's the thing, right? There's a real binary difference between marketing to generate new conversations and marketing to generate brand deals and influencer deals.
Product placement, all that.
They're totally different. And one is not right or wrong, right? It's that the avenues and the tactics and the activities you put in place to get to either one or the other are just they're binarily different. And I think the problem is too many people think that they're one and the same, and then they live in the middle, which is nothing.
The middle is death, right? The middle is complete death. It's completely scroll. You just scroll right past it, right? There is nothing stopping the scroll when you live in the middle.
And to your, I love this. You gave this to me, and I don't mean to like sound like I think you're the one who made it up, but you pointed it out to me, and it's been in my head for a long time, ever since years ago, the barbell, right? It's 90% of people live in the middle, and there's 10% here and 10% here. And they're the ones that move. And it's the same with the content, right? Like 90% are stuck deciding whether they're trying to get business out of this or get likes and views and engagement out of it. And when you're in that 90%, you get nothing.
You better figure out real fast what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and you better hold yourself accountable to the activities that are going to give you the best possibility of long-term results. And this is a really hard time for financial advisor marketing in one sense. Is essentially, other than just a few blips on the radar, we've had a 15-year period where the stock market has essentially gone straight up in value, straight up. And I can tell you that you always get more clients in the bad times than you're going to get during the good times. And it's amazing that even the few times where we have had very short, minute corrections.
Just look at like January. It was like,
yeah, like it always gets people to raise their hands. So the challenge for people today is, are you willing to commit to planting seeds, breadcrumbs, whatever you want to call it, for a year, 2 years, or 3 years until that next big event happens? And unfortunately, people are going to lose a lot of money, but then it's going to shake a lot of people out. I didn't hear from my advisor. I thought I could do it myself, but I can't. All I got was market commentary, but I never had a plan. All of those things that you hear during the slightest of corrections. But can you consistently lay breadcrumbs today for the opportunity that lays ahead? It's dollar cost averaging for the financial advisor business soul.
I'll tell you what, folks listening, and I do mean to scare you, but I don't mean to like aggressively come down on you, but wait until the Nicks of the world or some of these advisors, when things do get a little shaky, decide to start calling or talking about the ACAT, right? What is it? ACAT, the transfer portal?
The transfer portal.
Wait till that becomes
never gotten easier.
Wait till clients realize that that's not that big of an undertaking, and they didn't hear from you, or they feel like they've just been in a vanilla state of a relationship with you for years, and some other advisor has caught their attention and has pointed out that moving is not that big of a deal.
Yeah. One of a friend who, just kind of casually have gotten to know in my time in Charlotte, reached out from one of our podcasts and said, "Hey, like, you really got me thinking. I kind of inherited my financial advisor. He's my parents' guy, but we've never had any conversation about my goals. I don't know how much I need to save, or I should be saving every month, but he just kind of, he manages the investments in my retirement accounts." Okay. He's going to be a client someday, or he's going to be a client of a Ryan Canfield or somebody like that someday. But it's probably going to happen the first time the market goes down 20%. He'll be gone, because he's already saying he doesn't know anything about me or my family. He doesn't know anything about my goals, but what he has done is he's had me in a couple of American funds for 20 years. That's all he knows about me.
I don't think that the general population realizes, like, I just think that they're stuck. And once that conversation becomes front and center and normal, which it will, there's going to be a lot of movement.
Yeah. And it's still, the hard part is that people don't know what financial planning is or what good financial planning is. And you kind of get a sense of it, when you meet with somebody for the first time and you just ask a real open-ended question, like, tell me a little bit about your plan. And then you figure out real quick if they have any sort of planning relationship or none. And usually it's none. And usually it's, I got a 401k. Well, a 401k is an account. It's not a plan. Like, have you thought about if today was the first day of retirement? How much money do you need coming in on the first of every month to live the life that you want to live, without any fear that you may not have enough money? It's questions like that they've never been asked. And then you take them through a process to figure out what they could or should be doing every month to go from where they are to where they want to go on the timeline that they have for themselves. And then the wheels start churning, right?
How about I just come out and say, how did you get your financial advisor? How much do you know about your advisor? How much does your advisor know about you? Does your advisor know what your plans are this year, next year, the next 5 years? How often do you hear from them, he or she? In what capacity? Get them thinking on that level. And it's like, wow, okay, how much do you pay them? Okay, so you're paying this person X amount of dollars over the years to hear from them twice a year in the form of a regurgitated market commentary that they got from the CIO of the firm that you don't really know. Interesting. How did you find this financial advisor? I don't know. I entered my name into, the platform and they just sent me someone local, Todd Schmidt. Never even actually met him, or we did years ago. And we don't hear much about. No, he doesn't know that we're interested in this. He has no idea that my wife and I wanted to buy this business.
There's a tsunami coming. It's going to be very, very disruptive, and it's going to change. It's going to really shake up the industry. And
I can't wait for it.
It's going to cripple a lot of advisors is the reality.
I'm being dead serious, and I don't care who hears this. And you don't have to co-sign this. That's fine. But I really believe in this. I am sick and tired of the lazy sitting on people's AUM. I'm friggin' tired of it. I think it's lazy and not fair.
The only thing worse than that is being that way and then posting your AUM and maybe some trophy that you've received because of it.
We're so glad to reach 100 million in AUM. And to everyone watching this, if you haven't heard from us in 2 years, sorry, but keep it coming, keep earning, and we want more. Yeah, that drives me up a wall.
The tsunami is coming, and there are people who are preparing for it, and there's people who have no idea that it's coming until it's too late.
Nope. All right.
There's a lot of people that should proactively sell their business right now.
Yeah, right. All-time high, right? Get what you can for it.
Yep. Sell it, get out, enjoy golf full time.
Yeah. Let's spice this thing up a little bit. What else you got? You want to go health and fitness? You want to go pop culture, TV? What do you want to do here?
We can go health and fitness. How's your journey going, Corey?
I'm glad you asked. I could use some help. I got to be honest with you. I'm in a funk, dude. I'm kind of working out, like you can relate to this, and many people listening can probably relate to this. I'm kind of working out at like a plateau level. Like I'm just doing enough to like maintain, but I know I'm not pushing myself hard enough, and I know I'm not eating poorly, but I'm not doing great. Like I'm maintaining, and I know that like this is probably easy for me to do in February because there's no risk of me having to be poolside anytime soon. But that, right? You know what I'm saying? How do you break that plateau? It sucks.
It's so hard, man. Like there are days that the weights are light and there are days that the weights are heavy, And to me, the grind when the weights are heavy is the most rewarding because you're like, man, this should be easier, but it's not. And it sucks. And I'm just plowing through and I'm plowing through. But eventually, if you just keep hitting it and you keep hitting it and you keep hitting it, you break through. It's very similar to marketing, right? It's continuing to trust the process, even on the days when it feels like it doesn't work. And it's so hard. It's so easy to tinker and want to switch things up. But the only way through it is just keep chipping away at it.
I'm in that mode right now of like, I know when I head down into the gym in my basement of like, I know that there's a hard workout I could be doing that's 48 minutes, but then I know there's one that's not as hard that's 26 minutes and I'm opting for the 26-minute workout.
Yeah. So sometimes like if the weights feel heavy, like you do something that's more like lighter weight, just like much more intense, right? Like I feel like I'm like, man, you feel like really rejuvenated. Like that was really hard. That was a lot of zone 6 cardio where usually I'm like zone 3. So like that really revved the engine really good. And I think that's a great way to bust through. The other one is if the weights feel heavy, you just go up 5 pounds and you just embrace the suck and just make it worse. Like if you're like, man, these 70s they're terrible. Like these things feel like 100.
Let me lift more.
grab the 75s. Like you just have to shock the body, and sometimes you got to reward yourself. I know you work out at your house, which I give you so much kudos for that. That's amazing. But like whatever your biggest weights are, 80 is your biggest weight, just go buy some 85s and just get excited about lifting something that's different and new. Even if you do less reps, just shock the body a little bit. So my favorite lunch, we've talked about it before. I have complete addict behavior. Like I'm one of probably a few people on earth that could eat the same thing every day, be really happy about it. I got these microwavable quinoa pouches, 90 seconds, boom. Beautiful quinoa, perfect. Little New York strip steak, 2 to 3 eggs, maybe some mushrooms if I have some mushrooms on there. I've been having that every day for lunch.
65 grams of protein.
It's got it. It's a crazy amount of protein. But man, that gets me through the day. I feel great. Another thing too, like sometimes.
Where are we getting this strip steak from? Is this like a microwavable Costco thing? What's going on here?
No, just some Whole Foods.
Like fresh? Like you're grilling?
Yeah, just put a little butter, 4 minutes on a side, quick flip.
This is a flash news alert. Nick Nielsen KMP grilling for lunch every day.
I mean, that's the beauty of work from home, man. Right? I mean, it's the efficiencies of that life that it provides, and 90% or more of our meetings are still virtual, and so I only need 15 minutes to make lunch, 3 minutes to eat. Give me 20 minutes total. I mean, if I got time, I hit a 20-minute nap. I mean, life is good.
This is like superhero stuff. I need you got to tell me what I can throw in in the air fryer to
Yeah. Dude, those quinoa pouches are amazing. 90 seconds, best quinoa you'll have in your life. If you want to spice it up a little bit, once you get it out, throw a little bone broth on there to get some extra protein. But strip steak, couple of eggs, lots of protein, filling. And I will say sometimes too, I think we're guilty of this as men, especially as sports fans. Last night I went to bed at 9, and I'm talking like asleep by 9. Woke up at 6. I got a full 9 hours.
Dude, I haven't been to sleep at 9 in like a decade, 2 decades.
I was telling Jess last night, I was like, are you going to be mad if I go to bed? Like, I got nothing left. I got nothing in the tank. She's like, yeah, I don't care. She was doing some school with the kids, but I was out 9 o'clock.
I don't even know how to react to that. I mean, on one hand, I'm jealous. On the other, I'm like, I couldn't imagine that.
I had an early JUCO game that I was watching on TV. It was a 7 o'clock tip. It was done by like 8:30, 8:35. Jesse had already beaten me 3 games of Scrabble yesterday. So like mentally I was done. So I was like, you know what? I'm calling it a day. I'm tired. I feel it. I'm just going to listen to my body and get some rest.
Good for you. Yeah. See, you're most people can't do what Nick Nielsen does, which is he just follows through, right? Listens to the body and does what's right.
Body needed it. I knew it.
How's your fitness journey gone? I imagine, I don't want to speak for you, but I imagine you've had the ebbs and flows as well. Anytime you're on a journey for a year plus, it's not just straight down forever.
Yeah. So I've been stuck between like 205 and 207 since November 1.
Thick.
So this is like three months.
It's like linebacker, like 6 foot tall at that weight.
Yeah.
You don't want to get hit by Nick, guys.
But I've been leaning out, like in the waist, the pants are loose, so leaning out, definitely getting stronger, but definitely going through, times of the same things that you're going through, but doing a lot more stretching, really working on hip mobility, which is good. But, I'm down like 30 pounds of fat, which is a lot of fat.
When was it? Was it like last April you were at Disney? Was that when this was, or was it last fall?
It was last May for sure. And so
it's been, it hasn't even been a year yet.
No, it hasn't been a year yet. I got a few months on it. So today, looking at my app, so I've been to the gym 260 times, 260 days. I think I've missed 7 days for various things and closing. So I think 267 days ago is when this started.
Are we going like year over year when you do your upcoming vacation? Can we get a year over year picture?
Yeah.
All right.
It's going to be right at a year when we go back to Disney. And that was when I just woke up, just disgusted.
Will we be lucky enough to get the shirtless?
If my wife, I don't know anybody wants that, but I mean, yeah, we could.
People want that.
I don't think that anybody wants that, but yeah, you know what? I've always done the long sleeve shirts ever since probably the last 10 years since we had kids, like those SPF 45s, because I burn so easy. I'm either lobster red or as white as your hat.
You'll have to peel it off for a quick snap.
Exactly. Yeah,
Just
we'll do that.
suck in and flex.
Yeah. Because if I had to go shirtless for a long period of time, I mean, that's a lot of sunscreen. That's a lot of coverage.
Hey, we're not going to be there, so we don't care how long it is. We just want to see the year over year progression here.
Yeah, man. It's 237.2 when I weighed in at Disney that day.
Hey, good for you. That's
I'm donesy.
That's impressive, man.
But put on a couple pounds of muscle, lost a lot of fat, and we'll keep chipping away at it.
Do you see a point in time that this, like a lot of folks, and I can answer for myself, and the answer is no. Do you see a point in time where this fizzles out, or has this now become a new level of lifestyle?
No, it's a complete level of lifestyle. So
deal with the ebbs and flows, but things that you're not going backwards.
Yeah, I'm not going backwards, and I was doing really well pre-COVID. I was 185 pounds.
Yo.
So I had a similar kind of journey where I got up to 238. I dropped 50 some pounds doing keto, but working out every day. And then the gym closed during COVID, and I didn't have weights.
Gym closed, the pastries opened.
Yeah, gym's closed, but Chipotle stayed open.
Weird.
And, it was pretty much just like walking around the neighborhood and stuff like that, and I just packed it on. And so basically went back to the pre-COVID, pre-COVID workout weight at 237. But I was on a good trajectory before COVID hit, and that just derailed the health and fitness journey. So I look at it as it's a lifelong journey. I was telling you, one of our clients who's 57, he's a CrossFit guy in amazing shape and something, I aspire to be somewhere close to him. His grandpa just turned 100. His grandpa has an assault bike in his assisted living facility, and he's got hand weights by his chair. So the grandpa is still doing hand weights at 100, still hitting the assault bike, I think 2 or 3 times a day. I think it's just, you create the lifestyle.
And everyone I hear from, and this isn't news to anybody, but it feels like everyone that is aging says, males, if you can maintain it, you can hold on to it longer. It's trying to regenerate it when you're 52 from being, a decade of bad habits can be harder. And that's something I think is just sticks with me.
Yeah, my dad's 80, strong as an ox. He had a shoulder replacement surgery that certainly zapped him of some of his muscle just because he couldn't do some of the things that he did in the past. But I know that he's probably physically healthy today because of his lifestyle, 30 through 70. He took care of himself. He was strong, lifted logs, all that kind of rugged man stuff that
lifted logs. That's amazing. All right. While we've got a few minutes left here, let's get into some of our Nick's picks, Corey's picks. And what I mean by that is, what are you watching? What's caught your eye? Are you still on Silo? What's going on? What do you want to share with the folks?
Finish Silo, and I'll go real quick so you can share more this week. Netflix, I did do The Night Agent season 2 and The Recruit season 2. If I had to watch one over the other, I would do The Night Agent. But I liked both of the shows. A lot of people have told me that I look like Peter Sutherland, who is the kind of the main character in The Night Agent. Poor guy. And then The Recruit was largely filmed in Seoul. For those who don't know, we've adopted 3 kiddos from South Korea. So it was kind of cool to see some of the places in Seoul where I had personally been, had a little bit of oh yeah, I've been there. I've seen that before. But both fun shows, nowhere near the level of quality that we talked about from Paramount Plus and the Tyler Sheridan collection last week.
Okay, so they're in the 6-7 range there.
Yeah. Not great, but it's fun.
Okay, interesting. I started last night a new show called Paradise with Sterling K. Brown. Got through 2 episodes. Very intrigued by it, and it feels like it has the opportunity to be on that 7.5 to 8.5 on the IMDb level. So I'll share that 2 episodes in, very excited about it. Edgy, checks a lot of the boxes, and I will report back on our episode 2 weeks from now to let everyone know how that goes. That's Paradise on Hulu, 2 episodes in with Sheridan K. Brown.
Sterling
K. Brown. Sorry. You get the Taylor
He's a
Sheridan
terrific guy.
Sterling. Yeah, mixed them up there.
Do you want to weigh in on the Luka trade?
Yeah, I'll take your opinion here. I don't know.
Are you still processing?
No, I'm not processing. I think I just have a flat. I feel like LA just fleeced them flat out. Like I don't care how overweight the guy is. He's 25 years old.
And it is kind of the health and fitness kind of feel of LA might be exactly what he needs.
Do you give up on that though?
There had to be some real stuff going on behind the scenes that will never.
Of course, obviously, but like, don't you drag Dirk in? You're like, Dirk, straighten this guy out.
It's bizarre. I will also, like Nico, the general manager, right, had that relationship with Kobe, who was a dog, and Jason Kidd, all NBA defensive player forever, right?
And he left it out there. I'll give, right. Okay.
And I just culturally, if the goal is winning championships, they may have thought that there's no way we could ever win a championship with Luka because there's nowhere on the court where we can put him where he doesn't just get us crushed defensively.
Yeah, you're 4-on-5 with him going the other way.
Yeah. So even if he scores 30, he might give up 40. So I wonder if they said, you know what, we have Kyrie, we have some decent role players. AD is still a really good defensive player, a difference maker defensively if he's healthy. He likes playing the 4. We have 2 guys that are good at the 5. Could we potentially short-term catch lightning in a bottle and compete to win a championship? I don't know. I understand maybe why they did it because they're defensive-minded guys. And AD wants to play the 4. He can play the 4 in Dallas some. I think he'll play some 4, some 5. They got PJ Washington, who's a nice flexible piece. So I think it's probably going to be a good fit for both organizations. And I do wonder if this is the wake-up call maybe that Luka needed that he wasn't going to take seriously unless something like this happened. So if we get 220-pound Luka, the Lakers win, right? I think that's a no-brainer because at that point he could guard somebody.
Okay, I'm completely on board with everything you just spelled out. I'm completely on board with it. I can certainly see a world, and you're probably right. I actually don't even disagree with you, that the GM, Nico in Dallas, said, I can't see a world in which we get this guy to get in gear. Let's just shift and make a pivot. Where I have a problem is what they got in return for it. You got AD, who, I'm an Embiid fan, so like, who am I to talk? But like AD is not the most reliable health, big in the NBA. So he's not going to play a game for Dallas, until April anyways. 32 years old. Kyrie's 32 years old. Now you've built a team it's
a short window, right? Okay. You've really collapsed your window and you've hurt yourself from a marketability.
Great. I'm going to run down some names. Why in the hell did Dallas not call all these teams? Because I guarantee you one of them would have bit. First of all, SGA out of Oklahoma City, they're probably not moving him. I'm just going down the NBA scoring leaders. Maxey, Philly's probably making that deal. Edwards, I'm sure Minnesota's taking the phone call. Boston's going to hold Tatum, but I bet Phoenix is entertaining that with Booker. Jalen Brunson, New York's definitely entertaining that phone call. De'Aaron Fox, okay, that doesn't really fit with Kyrie. A couple of these guys I named are point guards. But my point is, you could add a youthful player in his mid-20s to replace Luka and
it almost feels like, different people evaluate different players differently. To me, it almost felt like they had circled AD was the only thing that makes sense is they had identified that AD was their guy. They felt that they had a window to win a championship. And for whatever reason, in their belief system, they thought that AD was a difference maker. That could be the only possible explanation on why they didn't shop it to the market. Because I do agree that it would appear that if you shopped Luka to the league, you would have gotten a much better package.
You could have just gone to Orlando and picked up, Banchero.
Yeah, and a Wagner.
Yeah, but like I don't understand. Or package Irving and Luka and get rid of them both and just rebuild. I don't know. This is
right. You probably could have got Banchero and Jalen Suggs, right? You could have gotten someone
and draft picks.
Kyrie. Yeah. So yeah, it's weird, but don't you feel like it feels like they handpicked that they wanted AD?
Like, I don't know, man. That was the weirdest trade of all. It was at like 12:15 a.m. Eastern on like a Saturday night.
Does having three really good defensive bigs put you in a situation where you feel really good about playing Denver with Jokic, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter? Is that why they did it? They now feel good about their chances?
I don't think you're getting through the future San Antonio with De'Aaron Fox and Wemby. I don't think you're getting through Oklahoma City anyways. Phoenix
is going to be fascinating. And NBA, so undervalued for postseason basketball. Like I'm pumped about NBA postseason. Like give me NBA All-Star Saturday night. By the way, the dunk competition is going to be great. They got 4 guys who can really go.
You're so caught on this. I'm so the other way. Like I could literally other than the 3-point contest, I'm like out.
I want those 2 things are great. Give me the 3-point contest. And I want to see like Caitlin Clark and Sabrina versus Steph and Craig Hodges.
Sure.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Right. Give me that kind of like matchup. I mean, I think that would be amazing.
Dude, could we maybe even have a world in which we rolled out like some of the retired guys? Like give me some Ray Allen.
Yeah. I mean, you don't think Larry Bird would step out there and just rip it up?
I would love to see some of those guys like Reggie, rip the suit off.
I would love to see some of those legends come out there for the 3-point contest. I think that would be amazing.
Totally agree.
Put along that with Steph, but I think it's so great for the young ladies who are into basketball to see on that stage, to see Caitlin Clark, to see Sabrina and some of those players, because I mean, some of the women are some of the best shooters on the planet, if not the best shooters.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Another thing that you bring up about the NBA of how great it is, the drama one is fantastic. But, my kids, they're 10 and a half, and the names in the NFL are as big as the NBA names, but the kids don't recognize them without their helmets on.
That's the difference. That's why the NBA that's why the value of sports cards favors the NBA over
It's
NFL.
Crazy. We're watching and I'm like, the Pro Bowl's on. I'm like, oh, that's so-and-so, that's so-and-so. And I know them because I've paid attention. And the kids have no idea that like I didn't know Justin Jefferson had braids. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like they just don't see them enough.
Yeah. That's the marketability of MJ, right? I mean, MJ has that beautiful smile that everybody fell in love with, and Magic Johnson, same thing, right? They were recognizable throughout the world. If they have a helmet on, you lose some of that. They would have lost some of that marketability. But give me NBA All-Star Saturday night, and then let's get to the playoffs. I'm pumped. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have a great run ahead of us.
I really hope. I hope that Adam Silver does something in the future of the league. I really do. I hope he cuts the season down by like a third, if not half. Like 2 games a week. You can keep the tenure. I don't care how long it goes. 2 games a week, but like it's so watered down with these guys not playing anymore and getting hurt. But to your point, like let's just get to the grind of the playoffs healthy.
Yeah, for sure. Does Embiid get healthy for the playoffs? Or is that ship safe?
Nick, you are so much more positive about this than I am. I cannot believe, like, there must be so much dysfunction in the 76ers front office that they rolled out a super max to a guy in September that cannot even be on the floor. Like, you're just locked in. Like, it's an unmovable contract at this point.
And then I did read that, hey, the knee's not working. I'm probably going to have a surgery after the season.
They're better with him off the floor.
Yeah. I love Yabusele.
He came in the other day and it was like they just got run out of the building by the Pistons. You gotta be kidding me. Like, he can't play defense. He has no lift.
And hungry, and they're going to run the floor, and Embiid can't run the floor.
It's not even running the floor. You watch him in the paint, he can't get off the floor.
Yeah.
So, like, the guys are just laying up over the 7-footer because he can't jump.
Yeah. It's sad. He's a shell of himself.
I'm not going sad. I don't even have time for it. I'm still pissed about the Olympics. I know that everyone laughs, but like you were fine in July and August and busted in September. Like it's negligent.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's bizarre.
Hey folks, today was kind of we went in kind of a random conversation, slow business dialogue. I hope you stuck with us. If you didn't, that's okay. But friends of the show, I love that you guys are here. Give us a rating, share it, continue listening. We love to help. And if there's any topics you have or want to share with us, DM, shoot us out. We'll get it on the next one. We'll catch you guys in 2 weeks. Go Birds. And Nick, any parting shots?
No, thanks as always, Corey. And we appreciate everybody who's listening, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers, guys.